Ride along each week as we share proven strategies to strengthen your business, energize your team, and create the business success you've been dreaming about. And now, here's your host, Rich Allen.
Are you consistently performing better than your toughest competition? Welcome to the Ultimate Business Tune-Up Podcast, where our one and only goal is to help you tune up your business so you can have the long-lasting success and fulfillment that comes from owning a solid, profitable, and sustainable business. Each week we dive deep into a single topic related to improving your business, improving your team engagement, or improving the relationship with your customers. This week I want to focus your attention up and out. That is, to spend some time asking the question, are you consistently performing better than your toughest competition? I use the phrase up and out because most of our time is spent looking down and into our organization. Whether we're talking about our hiring process, our compensation system, our rewards programs, our internal processes, our marketing strategies, or our financial controls, they're all centered around how we are conducting our business. It's the inward look at what we're doing today and asking how we can get better in the future. But today, I want to shift our focus and look outward to our competition. It's not just to any competitor, but to our toughest competition. And the timing for this topic is perfect, at least from my perspective. This past weekend, I took a break from some work around the house to check out the Arkansas Razorbacks football game. They put a spanking on Ole Miss, a team that was ranked number 14 in the nation. It was a big win for the Razorbacks, but that's not the point I wanted to make. But I know my wife will be excited to hear me give a shout out to her beloved Hogs. As the game finished, I happened to see that the NCAA cross-country championships were being televised, so I sat back in my chair to catch a bit of the action. I'll be willing to bet that most people listening to this podcast have never watched a cross-country meet, and I can understand why. Unless you're a running geek, you probably didn't even know there was such a thing. But there is, and for those of us who are way into running, it's super fun to watch. The best college athletes, both men and women, compete in what is both an individual contest and a team competition at the same time. There's a lot of strategy and drama as the best runners in the country go head-to-head to see who will earn the title of NCAA cross-country champion, both individually and for the team trophy. Here's why I love it so much, and why I think it's relevant to our discussion today. The top 18 schools from across the country each bring their 7-person team to the race. If you're doing the math, that's 126 runners lined up across the starting line, which is typically in a large field where they can line up side by side with each one of them on the line. But these just aren't 126 average runners. These are arguably 126 of the best runners in the country, both for the women's race and for the men's race. As the gun goes off to start the race, 126 strong athletes sprint from the starting line. The start is a long, flat, open field where the runners get to jockey for position and sprint to get in a good position before the first turn, which everyone can see is about the length of 3 football fields ahead of them. I find it interesting that the very best runners are not only looking to get a fast start to get a good position before the first turn, but they seem to be constantly looking around them to find their toughest competition. They want to be sure, without a question, that they find their toughest foe and match them stride for stride from the very start of the race. At the same time, teammates are working together to find their stride, settle into a pace that they can sustain, and find the runners on their competitors' teams that they know they need to beat in order to win the team trophy. To someone watching the race for the first time, it appears that there's only one race, the one at the very front. But that's far from reality. Since the team scoring is based on the top 5 finishers from each team, every runner's performance matters. Even if they're running near mid-pack, The team trophy is often determined by whether the number 4 or 5 runner on a team can outkick the number 4 or 5 runner from their toughest competition. As the runners make their first turn and get into the cross-country course itself, they encounter a series of uphills followed by just as many downhills. This isn't like running on the track or even running on the streets. This is the serious kind of running where you're in a field or running through the woods, navigating the terrain, taking sharp corners, trying to survive the steep uphills and trying to hold it together as you rocket down a steep hill on a wet, grassy surface. The typical cross-country track is 6 kilometers long for women and 10 kilometers long for men. They normally go around the course at least twice, so as they come to a tough section on the course, they know right away that they have to do it again later in the race. This alone plays mind games with a runner. If someone struggles on the steep uphill, their competition senses it and knows how to exploit their weakness. If someone hesitates on the downhill, their competitors will sprint down the next one to open up a gap. And did I mention that this particular race was being run in sub-freezing temperatures? Well, it was. At race time, the temperature was 26 degrees with a wind chill of 16 degrees. And aside from wearing gloves and some wearing a cap, everyone was wearing a racing singlet and shorts. Are you getting the picture? This is one tough race, but it means everything to those who are racing and to the schools they represent. As the race nears the finish line, each runner is marking their competition and looking to get the jump on them before the finishing straight. They're exhausted, but being well trained, they know what it will take to finish strong and win the race. As they make the final turn, they can see the finish line about a football field length ahead of them. Everyone digs in, driving with their arms, knees high, trying with everything to squeeze out just a bit more speed. It's important because they know if they beat their toughest competition, they will bring home the trophy, which is why many of them will cross the finish line and fall down in a heap just after crossing the tape. They're exhausted, spent, nothing left except for the knowledge that they did everything possible to beat their toughest competition. I don't know about you, but I'm tired from just recounting the race here today. And since you probably missed the race and won't likely go back and watch it later, here were the results. For the women, Caitlin Toohey from North Carolina State won the individual title, and she led her NC State team to the team title for the second straight year. On the men's race, Charles Hicks of Stanford outkicked the field to win the individual title, and the Northern Arizona University won the team title, beating Oklahoma State in a tiebreaker. So, I know you're thinking, okay, get to the point. What does all this have to do with my business? Well, here's what it makes me think about. Number one, as I'm recording this in late November, are you prepared to go head-to-head with the competitor that beat you last year? Have you taken time to review where you lost customers to them, or missed an opportunity to take business from them, or got beat on performance by them this past year? Number two, before you start your race in January, how well do you know your toughest competitors? Have they made changes to their website? Have you been following their social media posts? Have they introduced any new products or services? Has their pricing model changed for next year? Did they make any key new hires recently? And is your value proposition better than theirs? Number three, as the gun goes off in January, are you ready to sprint hard to get off to a great start? And at the same time, how are you going to keep a close eye on your toughest competition? Have you thought about having someone be a secret shopper for you? Have you tried their product and compared it to yours? Can you maintain the same speed and pace that they're going to go? Number four, as you get into the year, what are your strengths and where are you the weakest? Are you able to power through the uphills, those seasons where your business is slower? If not, how can you get better? Can you really pick up the pace on the downhills, those seasons where your leads are flowing strong and business is plentiful? Do you have the capacity to handle more business if it comes in? Number 5, when you think about your team, person by person, do they match up well with your toughest competition? Do you beat them at each position? Is your sales team better? Is your operations team faster? Is your customer support team better at communicating with your customers? And are you recognizing those who outperform their counterparts? And lastly, when it comes to the final stretch, will you have the stamina to outlast your toughest competition? Are your processes solid and sustainable? Are you sharing your results so your team can stay fired up to the end? And are you performing as a strong, confident leader with a vision that inspires high performance even when your team's exhausted? You see, beating your toughest competitor requires you do some serious thinking and planning in advance of the race itself. It doesn't just happen on race day. So I want to encourage you to take this lesson from the NCAA cross-country championships and apply it in your business over these next several weeks. Now is the time to prepare for next year's competition. If you focus your attention up and out, you'll be sure to position your business to be successful, and your toughest competitors will not know what hit them. And I want you to know, as always, if you have specific questions about this particular topic, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. I'd be glad to help you strategize on ways to beat your toughest competition this next year, because there's nothing like bringing home the championship trophy. And since business is a team sport, share this podcast episode with 3 or 4 fellow business owners. Who knows, they may even start watching more cross-country races to inspire their business thinking. Thanks for joining me today. Be sure to tune in next week when we're going to discuss finding the right marketing strategies. You won't want to miss it. Meanwhile, if you have a question, suggestion, or would just like to connect, shoot me an email at rich@tourtoprofit.com. Now go make it a great week, and whatever you do, ride hard.
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Business Tune-Up. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, find more resources at tourtoprofit.com and connect with Rich by sending a message to rich@tourtoprofit.com. Until next time, ride hard.